Welcome, one and all. We were bumping to that music as well. I hope you are excited as we are to see the second installment to our Heroes in Crisis. This is going to be featuring Eve. If you do not know what Eve is, we will give it to you. But first and foremost, we want to make sure that you're following us on the Back to Basics podcast. Yes, you press play on this, and now you're committed to us forever. So we're excited to be your hosts. As you can see, these three amazing hosts. I'm including myself just because this is the trio. This is like the Trinity right here, like DC's Trinity. So just wanted to give you a heads up. You're about to have the dopest time. You're going to have the greatest content around our podcast. We strive to make sure that we are giving you the best of the best. We don't want to be like every other YouTuber or podcaster. We want to make sure that we connect the dots and we actually go above and beyond just the comic book. So hopefully you'll get some educational components to it. More than likely, you probably get too much educational components of it, but we are here to make sure that we have fun as well. So you'll laugh and you'll also hopefully learn a little bit about comic books and also the theme. So this is part of our 3-part series, the second installment of our Heroes in Crisis. My name is Gen X. I am the Porter Rock extraordinaire, and I'm so happy to be a part of this team, this amazing team, the Back to Basics podcast team. And
hello to my comic book family. This is Miss Ebony Keys, and let me educate while I captivate your minds. That brings us back to basics, y'all.
And it's your boy Tempos. You know what it is. Coming back. You know how I go. Let's go.
Let's go. That is the motto. That is the motto for this group. So back to basics again. We actually got together because we wanted to really just, again, as the name suggests, we wanted to go back to some of the nostalgia that we remember as we were collecting, and now we're settlers, and now we are the folks giving it the information to all the masses through this platform. And we're looking to go beyond, above and beyond. So we strive to be different. We want to make sure that the flavor is up to the highest as possible. In this medium that we love so much, we just want to make sure that we connect the dots for you through the historical lens, but also highlighting some great books that you may or may not know of. And we really want to ultimately just be a part of this conversation. We want you to be a part of this conversation. So this diverse group of hosts, as you can see, we're all dope. We're all amazing. Hopefully you will also agree. But we're dedicating this episode to the passions, again, that brought us together and the current state of affairs of our comic book industry. We're going to continue to push the envelope, and we want to make sure that our audience has some new and refreshing perspectives. And the power that we hold, it's just really just us as a community. So we want to amplify it. And like Stan Lee said, with great power comes great responsibility. So that's what we're doing here today.
Boom Studios revealed back in 2021 a first look of Eve, a 5-issue original series from award-winning author Victor Lavalle. Let me educate you a bit and introduce this amazing author who was raised in the Flushing and Rosedale neighborhoods of Queens, New York, by his single mother who had immigrated from Uganda in her 20s. He attended Woodmere Academy and went on to earn his degree in English from Cornell University and a Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing from Columbia University. Now, you know that a man with that much knowledge and intelligence, he was going to make a name for himself. So guys, can you guess what was next on his agenda?
I'm still trying to figure out Queens. Like, I mean, the only thing came out of Queens was what? A couple rappers, let's say 50 Cent, Nas.
Just a few. You know, I mean, not to digress from but you know how New Yorkers are. We're big about our boroughs. So, yeah, we're Brooklyn boys. Aren't
Brooklyn
we?
boys.
Right?
Oh, Lord, let's go back because y'all just take.
We just wanted to make sure that you knew where you were at. You know what I'm saying?
I understand. We understand. I think we got it. It's a Brooklyn thing.
Oh my gosh! Did we just quote Biggie?
You right?
Good Lord!
I mean, I'm not going to quote Nas or 50 at this point.
Yeah, at this point. But anyway, Miss Keys, I'm sorry. We bring it back to the program.
We're bringing it back. But this man, he has written a few short stories, including Slap Boxing with Jesus, published in 1999, The Ecstatic, published in 2002, and the creator and writer of two, not one, but two comic books. Destroyer in 2017, which is a modern retelling of Frankenstein and what we all have been waiting patiently for, Eve. But here is a fun fact for your ears. Did you know that his novel Ecstatic became one of Mos Def's favorite novels? That he later titled his 2009 studio album after it, guys.
Oh, that's
Most
Did
dope.
y'all
Def
know that?
I
Yeah,
know that.
Mos
That's
Def.
pretty cool.
is Most
See?
Def from Brooklyn too.
I mean,
There's a conspiracy of brewing.
Okay.
He is from Brooklyn. I'm just saying, there's a lot going on here, Mr. Laval.
See?
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
See? I have a few things up my sleeves now, so I have some stuff. So let me swerve back on track, guys. Let me swerve back on track and tell you that he has also received numerous awards, including the World Fantasy Awards, the British Fantasy Awards, along with the Stoker Awards, and obtained the key to the Southeast Queens. Now he now lives in Washington Heights with his wife and kids and teaches at Columbia University. So what y'all think about that, fellas?
I
Listen,
mean, the key to Queens. Okay,
Yeah,
I didn't know there
the
was
key
such
to
a thing.
I know.
Oh my gosh. We
I mean,
so many of our viewers are gonna be like, there's gonna be like a war against us with the
okay.
boroughs.
they gotta
With
understand.
the
They talk to the
boroughs.
Brooklyn finest. No, I'm
Yeah.
stop.
We will give props to the Bronx because they gave us, they gave us life with the hip hop. But what's the
What the
line?
heck?
What's the line? Brooklyn takes it, right?
Brooklyn, Texas.
Manhattan makes it. Brooklyn takes it. Anyway, back to the story at hand.
All right, rapping, but I'm not a rapper.
Oh, let's get back to basics. All right. So the reason why I chose Eve for the second installment of our Heroes in Crisis is not only because this book is amazing, but it is what got me into comics. In this podcast, we will connect the comic book and piece together some themes that reflect our real life experiences during the pandemic. The story
Exactly.
for Eve starts when the ice caps melt. Most of humanity was lost to the hidden disease that was released, and everything was underwater for 20 years, wiping out all of humanity. Or did it? Well, that's what the story of Eve becomes very interesting, guys. You have this 11-year-old girl, Eve, that wakes up in a stasis chamber to deal with a world that she thought she knew, but in reality, she didn't know at all. So, in order to save her father, she goes on a quest with Wexler, which is an android that was programmed by her father and put into a teddy bear that was given to her before her mother passed, so that when she woke up, she would see something familiar and comforting. Now, can you imagine waking up seeing a teddy bear, especially a talking one, guys? A talking one.
I mean, I would
All
have thought I
right.
was dead. Like, where am I? We got a talking teddy bear.
Right? Like, wouldn't this be your worst nightmare?
Yeah, I would freak out completely,
I freak out. Yeah,
especially since I'm coming out of the stasis and there's a bear, an android bear. Yeah, not cool. Not cool, Dad.
right.
Find
Not
something
cool,
else.
Dad. Not cool at all. I mean, it's like almost like a Terminator for a new generation, almost like.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I'm
Right,
running.
right. But
I mean, that I ain't gonna lie. The way I run, that teddy bear will catch up.
It's all good. It's all
oh,
good.
all right. The story continues with the two venturing out to get to the vault. Now, the vault is a self contained resource facility that was built by her father, tells her that her father tasked her with a mission to go help save and restore life on the dying planet, which takes her on this journey to the vault. But in reality, the vault wasn't an actual vault. It was a vehicle used for planting her father's growth agent, which were mangrove trees, which scrubbed the air of carbon while dissolving the virus from the air. But thinking that everyone is dead and gone, she soon finds out that everyone was turned into these ravenous creatures, making their hunger unsatisfied, causing them to consume everything in sight, like animals, plants, plastic, and metal, until they just burst, exploded. That's nasty. But fast forward, she comes in contact with survivors, which were kids her age. Another Eve, which in reality she finds out is her clone, and she eventually gets to this vault, the vault that holds the key to bring life back, to save everything that she thought was lost. So you can see why I picked this series, because Eve faced challenges, lost hope at times, but in the end, she was able to survive and rebuild, just like we have. I know that we have lost loved ones, including myself, but it made us all stronger today to carry on and remember them for who they were, and to hold on to the hope that we still, that we can still see better
I,
days.
I think for us, to put it in context, it's so interesting to see the connections between comic books and real life. I think for our viewers and our listeners, we really wanted to put in context why we're not only doing this podcast, but this was really a brainchild of ours to think about, how folks are actually artists and writers of comic books are really finding some connections and also part of the storyline, tapping into real life. The pandemic for us, we're still dealing with some of the the fallout from that still.
Right.
And I think the challenges
Right.
there, as you all can kind of see, emotionally for us, it's been a taxing time. We lost so much time in between. And though Eve is a post-apocalyptic situation, we've seen other folks utilize, other comic book runs like The Walking Dead, who really tap into that humanistic piece. But it also asks us, how human are we, right? How human are we?
Right.
And sometimes we see the worst in ourselves when things don't go right and or don't allow us to grow as humans. So for me, this story, particularly Eve, finding people that look like her, some survivors, I can imagine thinking about what happened during that pandemic, where I just recall that the emotional trauma and the difficulty for me not being able to see people. I love people. I love talking to people, and I felt like I was in stasis for a while. I remember at times we were just hunkered down, and I was so scared. I think for me, I was so religious about making sure my hands were clean, making sure that I was having my mask on, double mask, N95. That took, I never thought about it, but it took a real toll on my mental health, especially. So I ventured out, and then I lost some family members, extended people, folks that I work with were contracting it, and I had staved off getting COVID. But now we're being faced with a whole different set of terms. We're being, dealing with not only, old school stuff, right? Old school, like the flu is coming back hardcore. And then we have new
Right.
diseases that are propping themselves up. So, as I think about how we connect the dots between Eve and where we are and Walking Dead and some other places, I know those are
Right.
extremes, but it kind of did feel that way. I was completely disconnected from what really made me human at times. So anyway, tempos.
I mean, you got to remember this. There was a lot of people that didn't take it serious because they thought it was just like a gimmick or something to do. And the fact that they were really going to a point where they were going into places not wearing the mask, not taking stuff serious, it was putting a lot of people in danger because it's a true, it happened. It's a virus that was killing a lot of people. Like Ebony said,
Right.
it killed even loved ones. That's scary, you know what I'm saying? Especially when
Right.
if something like this happens again, I hope it doesn't. It's some people out there that's not going to take it serious and not going to take precaution. And we all have to take precaution because we all have to protect each other. If not, we
Right.
can't look to what the government or things like that. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, look what could happen. We're gonna end up by ourselves, straining and struggling. So we got to like start now and protect each other. You know what I'm saying? And make sure that we do our due diligence and take care of ourselves and the next generation. Come on.
And when
Right.
Miss Keys brought up this storyline, I was like, "Ooh, this is gonna be heavy. It's
Right.
gonna be hard to talk about." And I think even now, I just caught COVID like a month and a half ago. I couldn't imagine not having basically the vaccine. I couldn't imagine not having those precautions because I still felt like crap afterwards.
Right.
The world was on fire, y'all. 2 years ago, we didn't know what to do. I
It's
remember
crazy.
thinking
Exactly.
about that. It was going to last what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. People were like,
Mhm.
and it lasted. It felt like a lifetime.
Lifetime. Exactly.
At that point, the only thing people were looking forward to was checks.
Okay.
True.
I mean, hey, to each his own,
Right.
it helped. Thank you.
No, all jokes aside, I think there was so much connected to that, right? Like, I talked about mental health, but like even financial health, and some people just didn't know what they were gonna do next. People lost jobs, and
Companies, small businesses,
yeah,
it's
it was
crazy.
it was
They had a
crazy.
flood. We in real life, the businesses that got lost and things like that. That you might as well have been underwater. You
Right.
know, it was crazy. So I could see how this could relate to what happened with COVID, not to that extreme level of teddy bears uh, walking around and stuff like that, but I mean, because of this, a lot of good's gonna happen because people are really thinking and creating the next best things to not let it get to where you know we got to worry about toilet paper and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Because that was another
Lord
crazy part.
Jesus. Oh,
Mhm.
That's the
toilet
last thing I
paper.
wanted,
Mm.
to be not without toilet paper. Oh my god.
Let me tell you something. I thought I was gonna have to go back into the woods. I thought I was gonna have to go back to primitive days and be like,
Right.
"Where's them leaves at? Be
Right?
careful, don't pick up the wrong leaves." Ooh,
I'm
I
still trying to figure out what was going on with toilet paper that everybody was going crazy for.
Well,
I would think
there was
water.
they couldn't have anybody like cut down trees and do what they needed to make toilet paper. It was a precarious situation. Like everything stopped. Like we
Hmm.
even medicine. You think about medicine, things that were, and we actually are dealing with it right now. There barely is any medicine for us. Over the counter medicine. So
Hmm.
now, not to take away from Eve, but I also, whenever I think about, and I know Rican will love this segment, particularly since he's a Walking Dead fanatic.
Oh yeah.
But I think about the human side, and I never, you see it on television, but to see it in real life, how people treat each other, especially during crisis, it's really interesting for me when I think about the Walking Dead. Yeah, we had zombies in the storyline, but like I was actually more afraid of people. I was literally afraid of people,
Right.
and not to make the connection that drastic with what happened in real life, but ultimately we kind of had to reassess humanity all over again. And we really needed to take care of each other. And some people weren't down for that. Some people
Hmm.
politicized it. Some people were like, "Who needs a vaccine and whatnot?"
Who
And
needs a mask?
who needs a mask,
Right.
right? Yeah. I mean, true story. I actually had somebody look at me when I had my mask on, and this is, when everybody was getting the vaccine. They literally asked me, "Why do you wear a mask?" And I was trying to explain to them, like, there's some people that can't because of health issues. They
Hmm.
couldn't take the vaccine, right? So for some people, they just think it was a play thing, or it was just a temporary thing, or it was a conspiracy. But people died.
Confrontational. Yeah,
People
they didn't want to
died.
be confrontational. Like,
Hmm.
I'm wearing a mask because I'm protecting myself and you. I'm
Hmm.
looking out
Right.
for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I need you to
Hmm.
do the same. I don't need you to argue with me while I'm wearing a mask. If I look ridiculous, you know what I'm saying? Look at my eyes. You know what I'm saying? That's all you need to look at. You don't need to look at nothing else but here. You know what I'm saying? There was people just sneezing, coughing. I seen a lot of videos of people running up on people like, "Oh, this is the pandemic is fake," and just coughing on people.
Yeah.
Like it's that serious, you know? It's sad that you saw people true colors when this pandemic came out.
Well, and I don't know, I would love to pose this question to you all. We started to see social justice movements actually, even in the midst of it, actually prop up with like, the protests, especially around racial equality and actually the LGBTQ community. And I think the pandemic actually, unfortunately, showed us an ugly side of humanity, which is it is reflective in the medium of comic books. So my question to you all is, how do we get here? I know the pandemic is the reality, the issue, but I think America got to see a different side of humanity through these protests. And actually, if you think about it, it was dangerous for people to be out there protesting.
Hmm.
They were putting their lives on the line to literally support a cause or something, right? Whether it was
Right.
Black Lives or it was Asian violence or it was even equal rights for women. Like there was a lot going on that people tend to forget because they think that that was just a period in time, but that was a
Right.
powerful part because people were still sacrificing. It was a different type of sacrifice versus like the civil rights movement, right? Now you have people in the streets literally like protesting, counter protesting, and they could lose their lives.
It's crazy. Like people was out there blaming specific people for this pandemic. Like how you blaming people? You know, I don't know. It's crazy.
Ethnic groups,
Yeah.
Asian folks,
Yeah.
right?
I ain't
Well, that's
wanna.
where the Asian
Right.
violence came from, right? Like people were like talking about, China being a proponent of
Hmm.
this, and
Mm-hmm.
And they like singling out people. Like you're not supposed to do that. You know what I'm saying? First of all, we in America. This is we free. We're free to express ourselves and be who we want to be. So you can't just single somebody up because you upset because you don't understand. And that's the one thing about humans. We're scared of what we don't know and what we can't comprehend. So the first thing we
Right.
do is what? Lash out on the next thing next to us, you know? Like you can't do that. It can't be like that anymore. But shit ain't gonna change.
Ms. Keys, what do you? How about the movements? What are your thoughts around like how that kind of transformed and even made us think about humanity?
My thoughts on it personally, it's always going to be there. There's never going to be change, to be honest. Because everybody's going to have their own opinions. It's sad. It's really sad because we're in 2022, and I got to raise my kids to this. What can you do? What can what can you do? Seriously, but just keep pushing on and try and pray for a better day the next day. You
Can I
know,
ask y'all a
so
serious personal question? How did you talk to your kids about it?
I mean, I told them I keep it real with my kids. I can't talk any other way because how I was raised. So I
hmm
explained to them what was going on. I explained to them what they have to do and how to move. And they understood very quickly because my kids. I'm being biased, but my kids are smart. You know what I'm saying? In school, is the quickest way to get sick. I mean, there was so many kids at the time getting sick in school. It wasn't even funny. Like getting positive for COVID was like a daily thing for kids, and that
right.
was scary because
hmm
me, I have asthma. Thank goodness my kids don't got asthma. But imagine that. So I just told them like 6 feet, wear a mask. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna be in the gym, they even shut down gym, so we wasn't worrying about gym.
hmm
Everything that had to do with physical or whatever, that was shut down. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't want my kids. I wouldn't want to see my kids in a hospital because of COVID, especially because somebody else parents told them not to worry about it because this COVID thing is fake, and their kids just sneezing and everything on other kids. I mean, regardless, you know how kids are. They don't. Kids is kids.
Right.
But it was a scary thought taking my kids and making sure my kids were good, coming back, going to school and coming back to school, in the bus, out the bus. You
Mm.
know, it's crazy. Boyfriend, girlfriends, like my oldest, you know, 16, he think he little Mac daddy. So at the time, what I'm saying? I couldn't tell him like, no, you can't, do kiss or hug your girl. Nah, man, do your thing, but just make sure, you I can't say protect yourself because that sounds crazy. Make sure you protect yourself.
But be mindful. Yeah, be
Be
mindful.
mindful.
Yeah.
Be mindful. Right.
Ms. Keys, how about you?
Um. Well, with my kids, it was about the same with tempos. You know, when quarantine happened, they shut down the schools, so they had like the whole online schooling and stuff like that. So it was like, I felt safe when they were at home because I knew where they were at and I knew they were in a safe environment. But once they hit going back to school and everything like that, that's when the beat of sweats and I'm scared, like because Tempo was saying people weren't taking it serious. They would still send their kids to school without their masks and everything like that. So it was scary, but they knew, and they knew Mama didn't play. They knew Mama didn't play,
Right.
and you're gonna wear your mask. You're gonna wear it all day, and I put a little baggie with like 10 to 12 masks in there with their hand sanitizer, the tissues, because they knew that this was serious, and I you know I wanted them to be safe because Lord Jesus, if something happened to my babies, woo, y'all say a prayer now because it's gonna be over. It'll be over. But
So
yeah.
I also think beyond like the obviously public health issue, we also had the other propping of like even their own identities, right? And just thinking
Hmm.
about people, the social justice aspect of it. How did y'all communicate to them?
I mean, for me, it was kind of weird because you have to explain a situation that's happening in real life. You know what I'm saying, to a 13-year old or 15-year old, both my kids' ages, and it's not easy to comprehend for them because they're not going through it really. All they're thinking about is video games and paintball guns. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, what's explained at that time is going to stick with them. So when they see it, they're going to understand what Poppy talked about, and then go from there. But me and their mother, we did talk to them about it and make sure they understand. Like, at the point, imagine back in the day when you can't wear a hoodie, when you dark skinned and you can't wear a
Mm-hmm.
hoodie, like that's scary. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like, imagine telling your kid, when you wear a hoodie, make sure your hood's down because when you walk to the neighborhood, you don't want nobody, the next door neighbor saying this, that, and a third. I want you to walk in the house and not get stopped by a police. Like
Yeah.
that's crazy, you
Yeah.
know. But at the time, to be honest, all I could say is bring it up, talk to them, how I talk to my kids, real 100%, and just move forward because I don't want to scare my kids, but you have to put a specific kind of fear in them. Not like
Right.
oh, this is going to happen. It's not
Right.
about that. It's about being prepared. I'd rather have my kids prepared for something than not prepared because fear can happen real quick when you're not prepared for something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But just be prepared.
So Ms. Keys, how about you? What was your situation like?
Well, I had to basically explain to my kids that it's not, it's everything's not rainbows, unicorns, and everything's not perfect, and um, we're not living in a fairy tale. That everything they don't see in movies, yeah, what they see in movies is can also be reality as well. Um, but it was scary. My oldest, she understood more because my oldest is like it's like my twin. I tell her everything. I talk to basically all of them about everything. But that's my my partner in crime. But it was scary, but they understood that what was going on out there was reality, and people were actually getting hurt and getting killed, and this is life.
Yeah.
Like, you just had to basically break it down to them that this is real. You can't fake this.
Yeah.
This is the real mess. So
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, we've been talking about this for years. It just happened that we had time to reflect on it a little deeper and to actually see it, come
Hmm.
to light, to
Hmm.
to really
Unfold.
think about our own, not just our own humanity, but like the existence of our humanity.
right,
Thousands and thousands of people died in the midst of it. More people were dying because of race, gender, sexuality, like all these things that really mean a lot to us in different communities, even marginalized communities, were propping themselves up, And so, yeah, so I just wanted to I was curious about that part. I think for me, comic books, again, are also a mirror and reflection of what's happening at the time. I think about 9/11. We all banded around. And as Tempo said, we tend to vilify people, especially marginalized people who we think are the enemies, when they themselves are misinterpreted and or people don't understand, right? Like they were
Right.
Sikh people who were of the Sikh faith, who people thought were part of the Muslim community, and also not every Muslim was part of this situation that happened, right? This
Right.
the
Right.
9/11 that were terrorists that actually were radical and radicalized. So, but again, it goes back to that conversation that is shown in comic books. We kind of see the transformation of human beings when they are confronted with decisions, and most times people will be will have self preservation amongst above anything, right?
Mhm.
You know what else? That entitlement. Y'all need to chill with that.
Yeah, that entitlement.
I'm
That's
tired of
right,
being.
Tempos. Tell them, Tempos.
Mm, mm, mm,
Yes,
mm.
entitlement.
Let's just be friends, man. Stop with that entitlement.
Yeah,
Right.
Y'all know who y'all are.
yeah, yeah. Let's get it together, y'all. We need allies in this struggle, and that's the truth of the matter. So again, make sure that you're following a lot of these groups. Tell us what are some post-apocalyptic or even some of this connections that we're making with the pandemic. I know some of us, I reference Walking Dead. Is there anything else that you would recommend other people
How
read?
about this? How about everybody drop a comment and let us know what some good topics, some comics. Of course, we know about Walking Dead. We know about a
Right.
lot of comics. We want to hear what you got to say because we know we're definitely here for y'all. You know what I'm saying? We
Hmm.
want to drop nostalgic culture comics. That's what it's all about. This is all about getting back to basics.
That's right. That's right.
Can't say it any better than that.
I know. I mean, I think that's it right there. That's the end of the
That's it.
podcast right there. I think tempos, he gave us a lot to think about. So remember to look at our third installment of Heroes in Crisis. And in that third installment, we'll be talking about the social justice piece. So we're going to talk about a lot of race, ethnicity, and we're going to talk about comic books that really tap into that conversation around equity and making sure that we really give credence to that, and making sure that people connect with some of the books that we'll be introducing. So it'll be multiple books, and we'll have a special guest. So
Special
we'll have a special
Nice.
guest to kind of give us some information about managing a lot of these health issues that we've been talking about for the past 3 episodes or 2 episodes. And just to kind of make sure that we're doing our due diligence, because I want to make sure that everybody has the connections here. We've procured and put together some resources. So if you're ever in crisis, obviously call 911. But to our friends and family, we want you to know that these resources are national. Some of them do not cost a dime, and you should definitely tap into it. Normalize the experience. Make sure that you are helping others in crisis as well. Give them this information. So anyone who is looking to kind of get help, especially around suicide prevention, definitely call 988 suicide. It used to be formerly known again as the National Crisis Prevention. So 988 for English or Spanish. And there's also a Lifeline chat there as well. The crisis text line, text signs to 74171 for 24/7 anonymous free crisis counseling. There is no need for anyone to suffer or to be in pain. We want to be here for you as a community. It's not just a public service announcement. This is a cry for you all to make sure that you get the help that you need. And again, we have all these other hotlines. We are also connecting the dots again. So it's not just about mental health, right? Or suicide crisis issues. Some of these things are actually connected to abuse and assault and violence. So making sure that you know the National Domestic Hotline is 1-800-799-7233, or text love is at 22522. And then there's also the National Child Abuse Hotline, 1-800-48-CHILD. And then the National Sexual Assault Hotline, 1-800-656-HOPE. So we hope that those are some useful opportunities for you to either share and or take some of our words to heart, that you get help or support. and make sure you find your community. Make sure you find professionals to help you. Again, finding treatment. These are some really great resources. Findingtreatment.gov. That's a great provider for treating substance use disorders, addictions, and mental illness. 1-800-662-HELP. 1-800-662-HELP. And then if you want to find a psychiatrist and you're looking for one that's locally, American Psychiatric Association Foundation, finder.psychiatry.org. And then there's also the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry. Again, www.aacap, that's aacap.org. And then the American Psychological Association, locator.apa.org. All right. So I think we've run down a few of the things that we think we should highlight. Again, the team is here for you, and we're going to continue pushing forward, connecting the dots, and talking about the issues that matter to you. So please drop us some information, comments. Reach out to us on our IGs. We are very, very prominent on our IGs. We're always putting and posting things up, so we are easily accessible. And if you're missing out on our IG, oh, shame on you. Shame on you.
You're missing out.
Shame.
We got some dope stuff on there. And we're building communities. Again, we can't do it without your help. And we hope that this episode really gave you some thought about how you treat each other. We want you to help others do better by example. So model behavior. Make sure that you are always talking about it. Make sure you're there for your neighbors. Any other parting thoughts?
All I'm going to say is, if something's going on, say something. If not for yourself, for your loved ones. Don't be selfish. Someone loves you out there. Everybody got to love each other. Let's just keep it pushing.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. All I got to say is if anybody needs anybody to talk to, I'm always a message, text, phone call. That goes with either one of y'all. You know, we're all here for y'all. So, you know, it's not community, we're family. So just hit one of us up if you need anybody to talk to.
That's right. Yep. And what this pandemic showed us is that there is a community for everyone. Mm-hmm. And it is by the blessings that we've had around comic books and the love for comic books that we are streaming, we are recording, we're podcasting, because we saw something in you, the community, that we wanted to add more to your life. And so This is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. And we're flowing a little bit different. So we thank you all. We hope that you have a great, great, great rest of your week. You'll see us in a couple of weeks. Again, Back to Basics podcast, a comic book podcast. Just make sure that we differentiate that. Right. And we want you to communicate with us. Like Tempo said, put us in the comment section. Like us, subscribe, and share. That's the only way we'll grow. So make sure you share. All right. Yeah. All right. Peace out, my friends and family. We love y'all. Keep reading. Tempos, yes. Tell them, Tempo.
It's a Brooklyn thing.
I thought he was going the other route. But yes, it's a Brooklyn thing. And comic books can be the most amazing portal and the most amazing medium. All you got to do is tap into it and read. So on behalf of the team, Back to Basics, we love you. Peace out.
Love y'all.